Nobody wants somebody else dictating control over your own life. You don't want somebody else dictating whether you get made redundant or not. So how do you make yourself redundancy proof? So if you haven't seen the channel before, we do videos aimed to help employees, and that's employees either in employment or those seeking employment. We try to hold no punches, give you the real picture of what's actually going on, and try to be genuinely real about stuff. If our channel sounds like the kind of thing that's going to be of interest to you, do consider subscribing to us. And if you like this sound of this kind of video, do give us a big thumbs up. Living with the fear of being made redundant is not pleasant. We've all got bills to pay, people that we're responsible for, and our lives to live. And we need an income to make sure we can fulfill those obligations. So doing what you can to avoid redundancy is always going to be a good idea. And that's because it puts you in control rather than anybody else. But how do you do it? How do you make yourself redundancy proof? There are a few factors that you need to get right. So let's get to the first thing that you need to make sure that you do to make yourself redundancy proof. Number one on the list is that results are the number one priority of any company. Before you even argue this point, forget all this marketing nonsense about we put our employees first or we put our customers first. It's about results. Ignore all the rubbish, whatever they say, results come first to any business in the land because that is what makes companies tick. And don't get me wrong, any company that wants to be successful, they need to look after customers, they need to look after their employees, because if they don't look after customers, where's their business going to come from? If they don't look after their employees, who's going to make their money? They need to look after those people, but they're looking after those people for the central objective, getting results. And the value that any individual has to any company, it comes down to the results that they deliver in their particular job function. You could have someone who's wonderful, they're really nice, they do stuff for charity, everybody loves them. They can't get results, trust me, they're going to be the first one out the door. And when it comes to a redundancy consultation, the people that are making the decisions on who to keep and who to let go, the number one priority they'll have on their list is who delivers results. So if you make sure that you strive to be the very best in your department, in your job function, you immediately give yourself a massive advantage whenever it comes to any redundancy consultation period. But before you click off the video and decide to go and watch some other YouTuber who's less bald, got a better quality beard and is more established, at least hear me out a little bit more, because I'm not going to go through just obvious stuff. You see, I understand that results aren't exactly going to be news to most people. They're fairly obvious stuff here. But the nitty-gritty I'm going to be getting to. I might have highlighted a little bit more about results, but the next stuff that I'm going to be going through, that's going to be the stuff you're unlikely to hear anywhere else. Let's start this next section with a little quote. The decisions that you make today will affect the decisions that you have to make tomorrow. A wise man once told me that, and he knows exactly who he is because he's one of our viewers. So let's follow on a little bit from this quote. Let's say you're one of those people who likes to push your luck a little bit. You don't mean it in a bad way, but you're the kind of person that if you can get away with something, you'll try it. Why wouldn't you? Sometimes you might have a few drinks, you might have a late night and you think, do you know what, if I'm late tomorrow, my alarm, it doesn't go off or whatever, my boss is pretty lenient, it'll be fine. You get away with it a couple of times, nobody really gives you a hard time, and you think, oh, that's a standard, I'll carry on with that. Being late here and there, it doesn't really matter. Maybe you go one further and every time you go out for a few drinks, you have a bit of a late night or whatever, you think, do you know what, I don't really fancy going into work tomorrow. I'll throw a sickie. And, when you do throw a sickie, you tend to get away with it. Nobody gives you a hard time again and you think, okay, that's fair enough. That kind of stuff can come back to bite you in the backside, especially when it comes to a redundancy consultation. But to articulate this point a little bit more, let's zoom out a bit first. What? No. Not that kind of zoom. Come back here. Seriously? You just can't get the cameraman these days. You're going to edit this out, aren't you? Yeah, I guess. Yeah, brilliant. By zoom out, I mean metaphorically. Let's say you decide to change jobs. But you know in your mind that the reason why people change jobs is to get a little bit more money. Isn't that why we change jobs? Trust me, I've been doing this job for a long time, and anyone moving for more money only, that is one of the worst decisions you can make for a job change. You might disagree with me. I don't know how many viewers are going to say, what are you going on about, Seb? But I'm telling you, I've done this job a long time, And in more cases than I care to remember, it has backfired badly on people. And I'm not talking about redundancy, but most people tend to regret it if their only reason for changing jobs comes down to money. And don't get me wrong, if you can get more money in a job, happy days. But it should never be your sole reason or even your core reason for wanting to change jobs if you can help it. The reason why moving for more money only is almost always a really bad idea is that there is almost always a trade-off for that extra money that you're going to get. The more money you receive, the more something else is taken away, especially if you're doing exactly the same job. Fair enough, if you're getting promoted, that's a different thing. You'll probably be doing a different job, be paid extra for that reason. But if it tends to be you're moving to do exactly the same job you're doing now, but to another company that's a competitor, ask yourself, what's the catch? Where is the trade-off? Why are they giving you that money? Because that's the thing that people miss. And that catch could be training, progression, equipment, responsibility, development, investment, how well the company is run, the support network you have around you, the team that you're going to be dealing with, the quality of people that are going to assist you in your duties. There's a whole heap of things you've got to take into account. Cost is being taken away from somewhere else, because how are they going to pay you more money otherwise? But if there's one thing that I've learned from dealing with literally thousands of companies, it's that the companies that tend to be a little bit more free spending in their nature tend to be the companies that get into trouble first whenever there is a market downturn. So if you're one of those people that has made the decision to go to a company based on what they pay you rather than how they run their business, and there is a market downturn, then you're at high risk of redundancy. My advice, if you want to make yourself redundancy proof, is pick the companies that you go to based on how well they're run, not on what they pay you. Trust me, an extra 20p an hour isn't going to make the blind bit of difference when you're out of work for 6 months. What is the trade-off? Ask yourself. Don't pick a company based on what they can offer you. Pick a company based on what they can offer your future. Make the right decision today because it will affect the decisions that you have to make tomorrow. The final thing that I want to talk about is the job function that you occupy within that business. If you do a job that is invaluable to a company, it makes it much harder for them to justify making you redundant when they fall upon hard times, because certain skill sets and certain job functions are vital for company survival. If you take those foundations out of your business, you're going out of business. So the last people you want to make redundant are going to be the ones that are the core reason why your business survives in the first place. You want to keep those people. And if you make sure that you occupy a job that falls within that bracket, then you're giving yourself one of the greatest levels of protection you possibly can. But remember, if you run a company or work in an industry that is destined for failure, it doesn't matter how vital you are to the company. If the entire company goes out of business anyway, they don't need you anymore regardless. You could be as vital to them as you want. If you're a captain to a ship and the ship sinks, what use are you then? So as an extra point, pick a company in an industry that has a future. Of course, your bosses, your managers, your directors, they're going to tell you how brilliant the company is. But how do you know for sure? The first place that I would search is either on Companies House or one of the various free credit check company report websites that exist on the internet. But let's go back to the point regarding your job function though. If you ensure that your skill set and the job function that you play within a company is invaluable to its survival, you immediately give yourself an extra layer of protection as opposed to anybody else in the business that doesn't hold the same status. And that is hence why I would say the most important thing a company can offer you is training and development. Over money, over their image, over their reputation, even over the people that you're working with. If they can offer you fantastic training and development, it enables you to develop that skill set and get into that position that becomes invaluable either to that company or to a company in the future. Make sure that you put yourself in the position where a company needs you more than you need them. Because if you're in that position, that is a fantastic spot to build a career from. You are gold dust to a marketplace. And even if a redundancy miraculously does come your way, it isn't going to be too long until you can find something else. And with that point, that pretty much sums up the essence of this video. If you like this one, make sure you subscribe to our channel, give us a big thumbs up, and click the bell icon so you're not going to miss any one of our videos.